It ain't our ball. It ain't our ball. It ain't our ball. It's our ball, ain't it? It's our ball. Hey!
Welcome back to the Casual GM YouTube channel. Today we got another NFL free agency video. Today's video is going to be about the top veterans left in NFL free agency. So, as you can see on the thumbnail in the video is the last hurrah for agents. So this means possible impact free agents that are past their primes and on their last years in the league. So basically just for agents who can come in on a cheap deal pretty much and contribute to a team, maybe on a 1 or 2 year deal, and try to push that team over the hump, or just really just get them solid snaps throughout the season and hopefully make a championship run on some of these teams. So the first player we're gonna go over, Aaron Rodgers. He was a big name in free agency. Well, not free agency, but the trade market a couple years ago. But when he got traded to the Jets, first year he got injured. In the second year, statistically, he didn't play that bad. So Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. He's coming off a season where he had 3,897 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, a 63 completion percentage, and a 90.5 passer rating. To me, those numbers aren't bad. Similar to Russell Wilson, like these are solid starting quarterback numbers. They're just not like up to their standard. So for their MVP years, so I think people overblew how bad Aaron Rodgers was. I think he's still a solid quarterback. I think he could be a starter quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be a backup quarterback. I think he'll retire before he's a true backup quarterback. So let's look at some of the teams he could fit on. So there's really not many options. I mean, I think he's looking to either compete this year or just go to a situation where he could be the guy. He can maybe have a real great season and shock some people and maybe extend his career in the league. But top two teams I have, the only two teams I have for him are the Pittsburgh Steelers, which seems to be looking at all the rumors and stuff in free agency. That seems to be the most likely destination for him. They just picked up DK Metcalf. They have George Pickens, two wide receivers that he can easily throw the ball up to. They have Pat Freiermuth, Calvin Austin on the inside, who can handle. They can really work well in the slot for him, and they just really need to maybe add a running back in the draft. Maybe add some pieces to the offensive line, and that's a real good situation for Aaron Rodgers, especially somebody who's older, can't move that well. We saw what Russell Wilson did with them last year. He was pretty solid, but then the next team you have is the New York Jets, who let go of Daniel Jones last year. They have Malik Nabers. They brought back Darius Slayton. They have Tyron Tracy, running back. So they're not a bad team. Also, they need to also work on their offensive line. Maybe work on adding some weapons to that team. But really, yeah, it's not many options for Aaron Rodgers. But these are two teams that I have for him that he could possibly work well with. Next up, we have Russell Wilson, another older veteran quarterback in the league. Unlike Aaron Rodgers, I do think Russell Wilson, I think he's more open to the backup role than probably Aaron Rodgers would be. But you're gonna see with some of the teams I have, I don't really have any teams outside of teams that he could possibly start for. He could probably fit on a bunch of teams, but mainly this video is gonna be about teams these guys could possibly come in, and, at least for the quarterbacks and start for. So he's 36 years old. Last year played 11 games. In those 11 games, he had 2,000 yards, 2,482 yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 63.7 completion percentage, and 95.6 pass rating. Again, not bad for his numbers. Solid numbers. He played well, but he did start to kind of decline at the end. He started to have a lot of turnover worthy plays, like he'll run the ball and like try to truck somebody. I'm like, Russell Wilson, that's not your game. Don't do that. Just protect the ball and make good throws. You also saw last year in that Pittsburgh offense, it was kind of like he was kind of a one trick pony. I don't know if that's Russell Wilson or just the Steelers' weapons on not being there, but he kind of only threw deep balls. It was like either a deep ball or an interception or like just him taking a sack. He took a lot of sacks last year that I feel like he didn't have to take. So some of the teams for him could be the New York Giants. Again, a similar things I said with Aaron Rodgers, reasons why he could fit there. I think the Tennessee Titans could be a good team for them because they could still draft a quarterback and pick up Russell Wilson and maybe have that quarterback, if it is a Cam Ward, sit behind Russell Wilson for a year. I don't think 2 years would be anything because Cam Ward did stay in college a while, so I think you want him to play pretty soon. But I think his first year he could sit behind somebody like Russell Wilson and learn a lot. Then he could possibly go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that's the least likely thing that could happen, but I do think it still is a possibility, especially if Aaron Rodgers doesn't end up going to the Steelers, which I feel like the Steelers are just kind of trading old quarterbacks and just hoping that they can maybe play like an MVP at some point. But yeah, these are 3 teams I have for Russell Wilson. Let me know in the comments who y'all think Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers could most likely go to. Next up, we have Calais Campbell, defensive tackle. Calais Campbell's been in the league, it seems like forever. He was in the league when I first started watching. He's still in the league now. He's 39 years old. Played 17 games last year, even at 38, 39 years old. Had 52 tackles, 12 tackles for a loss, 5 sacks, 5 pass deflections, and 1 forced fumble. For a defensive tackle, these are really, really good numbers. He seems to never age. He seems to always produce. I think he's going to be a very valuable older veteran free agent pickup. I think a lot of teams are going to be after. Some of the teams I can see him going after him include the Cincinnati Bengals. They just brought back B.J. Hill, I think, but they still could add somebody like him. They were like one of the worst run defenses last year, if I'm not mistaken. Washington Commanders, after losing Jonathan Allen, they could definitely look to add somebody on the inside like Calais Campbell. Detroit Lions, Buffalo Bills definitely could use him to help their run defense. Kansas City Chiefs, who lost on Wharton, I think, to the Panthers, so they're definitely looking for somebody on the inside. Just a lot of teams that are competing now that could use a veteran free agent like Calais Campbell on the inside of their defense. I think he's going to produce again this year. I don't see why not. I don't think he's somebody you're looking at to be dominant, but he's going to be productive when he's on the field. You can count on him, and he can make plays for you. So next player we have is DeMarcus Lawrence, defensive end. He's 33 years old. Only played 4 games last year, but in those 4 games, he had 14 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks, and 1 pass deflection. 3 sacks in 4 games means he still is producing when he's on the field, but that's kind of been the issue over the years. He's not on the field that often. So some of the teams I have for DeMarcus Lawrence include the Washington Commanders, Cincinnati Bengals, and Arizona Cardinals. Now with the Arizona Cardinals, this is Tuesday before the Wednesday Wednesday free agency period opens up for these deals to start becoming official. So the Arizona Cardinals did sign Josh Sweat, but I still think they need more pass rushers than just Josh Sweat. And DeMarcus Lawrence, a guy, again, because of the injuries and all that, could maybe sign a cheaper deal. So you could bring him in for depth. Then you had the Washington Commanders, who Dante Fowler is a free agent. They definitely need inside and edge help on their defense. Again, another cheap option, even though they have a lot of money. Washington Commanders have a lot of money, which is why I'm kind of disappointed they didn't go out and pick up maybe a bigger name like a Josh Sweat or Khalil Mack or somebody. But I mean, they still got the draft. The draft is loaded with defensive ends and interior D linemen, so they could be their plan. Then you got the Cincinnati Bengals, another team who could be losing on Trey Hendrickson. So DeMarcus Lawrence, another cheaper option, come in, play the edge. He can also play on the inside a little bit. And yeah, those are options for DeMarcus Lawrence. Not many options. He could come back to the Cowboys maybe on a cheaper deal. That is another option that I didn't put up here. But yeah, there's not many options for DeMarcus Lawrence right now. He just has to find a team and play. And maybe he could play his way back into having some real true value in the league to some of these teams. Then we got Stephon Gilmore, cornerback, another older guy, 34 years old, played 15 games last year, 56 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, 9 pass deflections, which is really good, 1 interception and 2 forced fumbles. I think at this point in his career, he could move inside the safety, like a free safety or something. I think that'll help him extend his career a little bit longer. But if he's going to play corner, I think some of the teams that could be looking for him are Dallas Cowboys, Arizona Cardinals, and Atlanta Falcons. All teams that need cornerback depth need somebody who can, if asked, come in and start and play some real big snaps and still be solid on the outside. So yeah, this is what all the players I have, all the teams I have for Stephon Gilmore. Next we have Tyler Lockett, wide receiver. Just got dropped by the Seahawks. 32 years old, played 17 games last year. Had 74 catches, 49. Had 74 targets, 49 catches, 600 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Solid numbers, not bad. Kind of wide receiver 3 type numbers. That's what I think his role is going to be in for any team that pick him up. I don't think you're looking at him trying to be a wide receiver 2 and definitely not a 1. Just a cheaper wide receiver. So some of the teams up here, as you can see, a lot of these teams are contenders or teams that are trying to make playoff pushes. So first you got Kansas City Chiefs, who I think since they brought back Marquise Brown, Tyler Lockett might not be somebody they're looking for, but you never know. San Francisco 49ers, I definitely think could look for Tyler Lockett like on a cheaper deal, just to make sure Brock Purdy has somebody to throw to, because they could be trading away Ayuk. And they did already trade away Deebo Samuel, so maybe pair him, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Parcell, and maybe a draft pick, and just see what your wide receiver room turn to. Then you got the Denver Broncos, who definitely need wide receiver help. They were thin at wide receiver last year, just another body they can add to the roster and help out Bo Nix. Then the Dallas Cowboys, who are going to be looking for some cheaper options out there since they don't have a crazy amount of cap space. Tyler Lockett can definitely fill that role. Tennessee Titans, another team that could use wide receiver. The Las Vegas Raiders, they just went and traded for Geno Smith. So Tyler Lockett, somebody who has chemistry with Geno Smith. They need wide receiver help. They could definitely bring him in. And I think they still could probably draft a wide receiver too, so he could be a great veteran for a wide receiver. Yeah, these are the teams I have for Tyler Lockett. Next, you have Darius Slay coming off a Super Bowl win. Played 14 games last year. Is 34 years old. Had 49 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, 13 pass deflections, 0 interceptions, and 1 forced fumble. I think he's a solid corner still. If you watch him last year, he doesn't quite play at that same speed he used to play at. I think that reflects with the takeaways and some of the yards that he gave up. But he's still a solid cornerback you could have. I think he's a good number 2, number 3 cornerback you could have on your team. Some of the teams that could be looking for him are Pittsburgh Steelers, which looking at rumors seem to be like, it seems like they have a deal in place, but because he hasn't officially been released yet by the Eagles are looking to possibly trade him now, I guess, even though it looked like they was going to release him. Now it's looking like they could possibly trade him and try to get like a late pick or something in the draft. But if he does get released, I pretty much think he's going to go to the Steelers. They seem to already have a deal in place. But some other teams that could maybe make a push for him include the Washington Commanders, which he has talked about where being willing to play for them. Then the Buffalo Bills, who need cornerback help. Yeah, it's not many options for a guy like him. I think this is his later years in his career. He still could maybe have a breakout year. For his standards, I guess. For his age, he could have a breakout year and maybe still has some productive years left. But yeah, not many teams left for him. Next, we have Za'Darius Smith, who just got released by the Detroit Lions. 32 years old, played 17 games last year for the I believe the Browns, and then got traded to the Lions. Had 35 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, and 1 pass deflection. These are really good numbers for a pass rusher. They aren't elite numbers, which is why he got released. The Lions didn't want to pay him that money. But he's still a valuable player that could be picked up for the cheap. I think he could really contribute to maybe a team trying to make a playoff push or contend. Some of the teams up here include the Washington Commanders, who are doing just that. They made a big move to get Laremy Tunsil. You can really tell they're pushing for a Super Bowl this year. And somebody like Za'Darius Smith with their D-line issues could really help just add a piece to them. I think they definitely going to be looking to draft, get their franchise pass rusher. But Za'Darius Smith is a great vet to have, maybe mentor somebody they draft. Philadelphia Eagles, another team coming off a Super Bowl, looking for cheaper options, since that's what you got to do when you got to pay all these guys after you win Super Bowls. You got to look for the cheap options like they did last year, how they found Zach Bond and all that stuff, and got those guys to play at a great level for the cheap. That's what I think they're going to be looking to do. And Za'Darius Smith, I think, could fit that. And Atlanta Falcons, another team, a younger team that in the division, technically, they could make a playoff push. Michael Penix did look good last year, but I just think they're still rebuilding this team. I think Zadarius Smith solved some of their pass rush issues, and add some depth on that D line. Next, you have Keenan Allen, 33-year-old wide receiver, played 15 games last year for the Bears, had 121 targets, 70 catches, 744 yards, and 13 touchdowns. The yards don't stand out, but the touchdowns to me really stand out with Keenan Allen. He showed he could really still be a red zone threat, and I think that's very important for somebody like him who's probably going to come into a team and be like a wide receiver 3 or 4, probably 3, depending on the team. So some of the teams I have for him include the New England Patriots, who definitely need wide receiver help. I think a vet like him would really fit well with a Drake May, and get him a safety blanket. Dallas Cowboys could be looking for a cheap wide receiver 2 or 3 on the pair next to CeeDee Lamb and give Dak Prescott somebody else reliable to throw to. The Las Vegas Raiders, another team like I mentioned earlier that really need wide receivers. Probably going to draft one. Again, another vet who can mentor a wide receiver to draft. San Francisco 49ers, maybe looking for a cheaper option at wide receiver, just to give Brock Purdy somebody to throw to. And the Tennessee Titans, again, probably going to maybe draft a rookie quarterback, or bring in a vet, but they still need wide receiver help. And somebody like Keenan Allen is very reliable, even at his age right now. Lastly, we have DeAndre Hopkins, 32-year-old wide receiver for the played for Kansas City last year, played 16 games. I think he got traded from the Tennessee Titans to Kansas City last year. So these numbers are between both teams. He played 16 games, has 80 targets, 56 catches, 610 yards, 5 touchdowns. He showed flashes throughout the season, especially in the playoffs, where he's still a solid wide receiver. He still has really good hands. Even though he dropped that pass in the Super Bowl, he still has really good hands, still makes plays, still is on red zone threat at times. Just a solid wide receiver, nothing too major. I think just like Keenan Allen, be a wide receiver 3 on the team, wide receiver 4 on a contending team, just to add depth. So some of the teams I have for him include the Los Angeles Chargers, who definitely need wide receiver help. Maybe with a Justin Herbert, he looks a little bit better throughout the whole season. Kansas City, he could come back to Kansas City Chiefs possibly. New England Patriots, another team, a lot of money, need wide receivers. Vet for Drake May. Dallas, and the Dallas Cowboys again. Another team with not a lot of cap space, but somebody like D-Hop might not cost that much. So just a piece they could go after. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know what y'all thought about these free agents. What are y'all teams, and would y'all want any of these players on your team? What is the value for some of these guys? Like, what type of contracts do you think they could be looking at getting? And do you think these guys are washed, or do y'all think they could be hidden treasures and make one last push in their careers and really contribute to a team? So stay tuned for some of my other content that I have on the page. We are doing mock drafts this year. I'm doing all 32 NFL teams. So far, we've done the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Giants, who else? The Commanders, a bunch of other teams, Steelers, all these teams we've done mock drafts for. Still have a bunch of other teams left. I'm probably going to wait till after free agency before we drop our next draft video, just to see how some of these rosters shake out. But stay tuned for that. You can watch all the other drafts in the meantime. I also have a couple other free agent videos out that should be popping up on the screen right now. Yeah, and stay tuned for the next video.
It ain't our ball. It ain't our ball. It ain't our ball. It's our ball, ain't it? It's our ball. Hey!